Morning guys, hope you're all okay. I'm starting the vlog in the car today because I am going to go to Tesco and get a load of ingredients, really affordable ingredients to do some batch cooking for myself and George, because Ash is actually going back up to work this week, so during the week he's not going to be here, and he has been doing all the cooking recently. So I've got to get back into the routine of making dinner, batch cooking, getting back into that routine for when it's just me and George in the week, because I really don't have time to cook dinner after work, pick up George from nursery and then eat. Like, I just don't have the time to do that because he will be kicking off if I attempted that. So my plan is, I realise I'm just like out of focus. My plan is to go into Tesco in a minute and grab some really easy batch cookable ingredients, and I'm thinking doing some really wholesome, normal, like family meals basically for me and George. So I'm thinking shepherd's pie, I'm thinking bolognese, I'm thinking maybe like a veggie like chili con carne, or like a veggie stew of some sort. I've actually got some like corn mince, or I don't know if it's corn, but it's like no meat mince at home in the freezer, so I thought I would use that for probably like a spag bowl and a shepherd's pie, or not shepherd's pie, cottage pie, fake cottage pie, or something like that. But yeah, I'm going to go get the ingredients, I'm going to take you home, and I am going to start batch cooking. I think I'm going to get the ingredients today and then do it tomorrow because I'm at work today, and this is my lunch break. So I'm going to go get the ingredients and then I will catch up with you guys when I start doing the batch cooking. And like I said, it's just, I'm getting ahead of myself here because Ash is not here next week and it's going to be all hell breaking loose if I do not do this now. So you guys are keeping me to account, and you give me loads of ideas as well as to what I could do. But basically, simple, easy, affordable. That is what I need in my life, so that is what is coming up. Okay, so it's now the next day. I'm back from shopping. I've got all of my ingredients and I've decided to make 3 really easy batch cook meals for me and George this week. And I've decided on a spaghetti bolognese. It's a meat-free version, but you could do the same with meat if you wanted. It's just like a mince alternative that I've got, but you can use it with beef if you wanted to. They're really like hearty, warming winter meals, and they're gonna be so easy because they've all got the same base pretty much. So I've got one that is a veggie spaghetti bolognese, and then I've got a chili con carne, which has got the same base, but I'm going to add peppers and a few other bits to the base as well, and a few spices and things like that, but nothing too hot because George is going to be having it with me. And then I also wanted to do the third one, which is a veggie shepherd's pie. We're not actually veggie, but I do really like veggie alternatives, and I do definitely want to cut down on my meat intake. So I always do like finding some sort of recipes for like the classic traditional meals, but like veggie versions. And I've had the shepherd's pie before and it was absolutely gorgeous. It's got a sweet potato topping. You can either do it with a sweet potato topping or have sweet potatoes in it and then have a normal potato topping, double carbs, love it. But I'm gonna start making the base now, so it's like just the tomatoey sauce bit that's so versatile. You can use it for the spaghetti bolognese and you can use it for the chili con carne. So I'm gonna make a load of this base and then I'll use it for both of those meals. So that is my top tip for batch cooking. Find things that you can use like the same ingredients for, but they're gonna have completely different tastes. One's Italian and one is more Mexican, so I'm so excited. But yeah, I'm gonna make the base now and then I'm gonna finish off the meals a little bit later on. So these are the ingredients, really simple, for my tomato sauce base that I'm gonna use for both my spaghetti bolognese and my chili con carne. I'll add different things to the different meals, but it's gonna be the same base. So like I said, I'm gonna make loads of this and then use that as a base for my meal, so it's so much quicker when I'm making them. So I've just got 4 carrots, 2 onions, 3 cloves of garlic, some chopped tomatoes, and then some mushrooms. But I'll do that now and then I'll catch up with you when that is all done and then show you how I make the spaghetti bolognese first, and then I'll do the chili con carne. So I'm just going to start off by heating up a frying pan and then cutting up the onions. What I'm just going to do is peel the onions and chop them a bit roughly and then just pop them into my food processor. I've got a little one that I usually use for blending George's food up, but it's actually perfect for batch cooking as well, so I don't have to chop everything. I literally just pop it into this. It's a Kenwood blender. I'll actually link it down below because it's genuinely a lifesaver when I'm trying to cook for myself and George or do batch cooking like in bulk like this. It's so good. So yeah, I'll link the Amazon link down below. But I'm just gonna fry off these onions. There's so many in here, but yeah, they cook pretty quickly when they're cut so finely. But whilst those are cooking, I'm just gonna cut up a carrot again, really roughly chop it, and then I'm going to pop it back into my blender or food processor, whatever it's actually called. I normally would, if I was doing a spaghetti bolognese for adults, I probably would keep the carrots a little bit chunkier because I like a bit of texture into my food, but I obviously have to remember that this is for George, so I'm blending up the carrots, which basically make them into like a grated consistency, and then basically they're part of the sauce, so it's like hidden veggies, which is perfect for little ones because then you know they're getting their vegetables, but they don't know that they're eating them, and it's delicious. It's part of the sauce basically. I'll mix all the carrots in with the onions and then do exactly the same thing that I did with the carrots and onions with the garlic. I'm using 3 garlic cloves. If you like more garlic, add more garlic. Less, then add less. But let's face it, garlic's delicious. So yeah, I just blended all of that up, and then I'm just going to scoop that in and mix it all together and let that cook down. Then I tried to do what I did with the other veggies with the mushrooms, but for some reason my blender didn't love mushrooms, so I decided to do some like blended and then some chopped, and then just mix that all in. At the end of the day, mushrooms do cook down quite nicely in a mixture like this, so I wasn't too worried. Once it got a bit much in this pan, I actually transferred it to a larger pan, but I will be using the other pan in just a minute for the fake mince. But then I just added 2 stock pots. These are veggie stock pots, but you can use stock cubes, you can use any kind of stock, and then 2 cans of chopped tomato and then a can of water, and then just mix that all in and gave it a little bit of seasoning with salt and pepper, and also a little bit of sugar to take away the tartness from the chopped tomatoes. And then it was time to pop the fake mince, this is like meat-free mince, into the frying pan and cook that all off, make it nice and brown for literally 5 minutes. I then decided that my tomato sauce needed something extra, and I decided to add some Worcestershire sauce. I know you can add things like red wine vinegar, but I decided to go for Worcestershire sauce, and I added 2 tablespoons full of that, and then added the mince into the mixture. Mix that all in and let that all cook down. Right, so essentially this is my base that I'm going to use for both my spaghetti bolognese and my chili con carne. It's pretty much made, and to be honest, for the spaghetti bolognese, that's pretty much all I'm going to do. I'm just going to add a little bit more seasoning maybe, and also obviously the spaghetti and some Italian cheese for the top. But what I'm going to do is half of it will be for the spaghetti and half of it will be for my chili con carne. But for my chili con carne, I just want to add some different spices and a couple extra ingredients, as well as obviously some rice. So what I'm going to do is do my chili con carne bits on this separate hob. I'm just going to do some peppers, some kidney beans, a few like spices and stuff. And then I'm going to tip half of this mixture into there. That will be my chili con carne mix, and that will be my spag bowl mix. And then that is 2 of the 3 batch cooked meals done. So for my chili con carne mix, I chopped up 2 whole peppers and popped that into a steaming hot pan so that could cook down, and then I wanted to add my spices. This time I went for 2 teaspoons of cumin. I added that to the mixture. I absolutely love cumin, so I actually think I added a little bit more, but I love cumin. And then I added 1 tablespoon of ground coriander, half a tablespoon of cinnamon, and then a whole tablespoon of mild chili powder, because this is for George. If it was for me personally, I'd add a lot more spice, but I wanted to keep it as bland as possible without tasting horrible, just for George's sake. And then I added some kidney beans and some chickpeas. These are just from a can, and then I mashed them up. I obviously rinsed them, there was no water with it, and then I just mashed them up into the pan. So some are whole and some are mashed, and then I also added some extra garlic. I had some lazy garlic in the cupboard, so extra garlic for the chili con carne, and then I just mixed that all together. I've just tasted my con carne mix. Don't forget, this hasn't got onions. I added a little bit more garlic into it, even though there's some garlic in there. The onions, the tomatoes, everything else good is in this mixture, which I'm now going to transfer half of into here, give it a taste and see what I think is needed. I think I'm going to add lime juice or something like acidic to it, but I just wanted to pour that in, taste it and see what I think. So I added the tomato base into the con carne mix and then mixed that all together and had a little taste of it to see what was needed. I definitely decided that I wanted some lime juice in there, and I actually zested a lime because we had one laying around in the fridge. Lime zest is so underrated. I absolutely love it, and fresh lime juice is just to die for. You can obviously use lime juice from a bottle, which I do often, but I had this lime, so I thought I might as well use it. Mix that all in together, see how it tastes, add any more salt, pepper or cumin, anything extra you want, and then see what you think. So my veggie chili con carne is done. That tastes absolutely delicious. What I will do though is add a little bit more salt when I serve it, because I don't want to add salt to George's too much, so I will have some extra salt and pepper on my one. It's not too spicy or anything, but again, I can add some chilies or something when I serve it. I am going to portion this into little individual pots, put them in the fridge or the freezer, into George-sized portions and mummy-sized portions, and then yeah, I'll serve it with rice and a little bit of yogurt and a little bit of coriander, and it's going to be delicious. That's going to be loads and loads of portions for me and George over the weeks, so that's perfect. And then I've got my spaghetti bolognese mix here. The only thing that I haven't really done with this is added a little bit more sort of Italian seasoning, so I've just got basil here, so I'm just going to add a little bit of that, because obviously I did want to leave it quite neutral beforehand, because I was using half of it for the chili con carne, which I've now made nice and Mexican spice, lots of cumin and all that stuff in here, but this is still very Italian in flavour. So yeah, I've added some basil, and then I'm just going to give it a taste and see what I think is needed. I tell you what, that is pretty damn good after adding the basil. So it's literally everything I did before, plus a bit of basil, and then I think that is my veggie spag bowl mix done. Again, I'm going to serve this with obviously spaghetti and lots of parmesan. I love parmesan. I have also got some ingredients to make a veggie shepherd's pie, so I think what I'm going to do is do this today, like portion everything up and like tidy up, because that is the reality of doing batch cooking, is like it is just a mess in the kitchen, especially when you're trying to film and balancing you on a toaster. So yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to tidy everything up, separate this all into portions, and then I'm going to do a veggie shepherd's pie at some point. But for now, I've got a kitchen to tidy and portions to size up. So yeah, I'll do that, and then after I've done that, the next clip you'll see is when I'm doing the veggie shepherd's pie, hopefully. I thought I had more Tupperware than I actually do, but I've just to separate these all out. I've got my chili con carnes this side and then my spag bowl that side. So I've got 2 mummy-sized portions for this chili con carne. Obviously I'll bulk it out with rice and yogurt and all that kind of stuff. Maybe even some like Doritos or something. George would definitely love that. And then I've got some George-sized portions here. There's just slightly more in there and then slightly less in these ones. And then this is another George portion. So 3 for George and 2 for myself. Then here, because I actually have less Tupperware than I thought I did, I've got 1 George-sized portion, which is a very generous George-sized portion, and then a mummy-sized portion. But this one, I think I would just split this between me and George. I'd defrost that, heat it up and everything, and yeah, split that between myself and George. So chances are even the George-sized portions would be too much, but I'll just judge it on the day, and probably just give him some leftovers or something the following day if I need to. But I've batch cooked a fair amount of stuff, which I'm quite impressed with. I'm gonna let that all cool down and pop that into the freezer, and then tomorrow I'm probably going to batch cook the shepherd's pie, which I'm very excited for. Veggie shepherd's pie is up there with one of my favourite winter meals. I love it. For this I'm going to need 1 large onion, the equivalent of 500 grams of carrots, chopped tomatoes, kidney beans I've got instead of the lentils in the recipe, some stock cubes or stock pots, some red wine, like the cheapest red wine you can find, some sweet potatoes for the mash topping, some cheese for the mash topping, and also some butter for that as well. To start off with this one, I'm just going to chop up the onions. I'm actually going to do this one by hand rather than using the blender this time, just to see if my theory is correct that George prefers it really chopped up really small, or if he actually doesn't mind, because I prefer chunkier bits in my food. So we shall see how he gets on with these carrots and the onions and all that kind of stuff. But yes, I'm just chopping it up. Basically, we're going to follow the recipe exactly, and I'll link the recipe down below. The only thing that I haven't got is lentils, so I'm using kidney beans instead, but I've had it with kidney beans before and it absolutely works. So that is just one little tip. You can kind of use any kind of pulse, I think. Once my pan is heated up, I'm just going to chuck the onions in there and let them fry off and get nice and golden. And in the meantime, I'm just going to put some water on to boil in a saucepan, and that is going to be for my sweet potato topping for my shepherd's
pie. So I'm just going to let that come to the boil and then add my sweet potatoes in a minute. But my onions are pretty much there now, so I'm just going to add my carrots in and mix that all together. And then the recipe said that it needed thyme, which I didn't have, but I did have oregano and basil, which I think are good substitutes for thyme according to Google. So I just popped those in. One of these was from like a old Gusto thing that we obviously didn't use. So oregano and basil, mix that all together so it actually has a little bit of flavour. And then I'm just going to measure out 200 millilitres of red wine. This is like the cheapest red wine you could possibly see. Cook that all down and let that reduce a little bit, and then add a little bit of water, just like 100 millilitres of water. Add in the chopped tomatoes and also the stock cubes or the stock pots. If you're using stock cubes, then you just crumble them in, and if it's stock pots, you can just chuck them in as well. And then you literally just mix it all in together and let it simmer for about 10 minutes. And again, letting that red wine sort of reduce and burn all the alcohol off and stuff. At this point is when it starts to smell absolutely amazing. But whilst that is simmering, I'm actually just then gonna peel all of my sweet potatoes. I'm gonna roughly peel them. I don't really care if there's a little bit of skin on them. Actually, I quite like the sweet potato skin, but if you want to peel them more so, then you can. But this is for the mash topping. So I'm just peeling all of these, and then I'm just going to cut them up into little bits so they cook quicker, and then I'm going to pop them into my boiling water to soften. Once the stock's been simmering for about 10 minutes, I just add in a whole can of kidney beans, which is with the juices and everything, which is against what the recipe says, but I don't really care. It tastes just as good. Then I'm just going to add my sweet potato into my boiling water, like I said, and that's going to go in for another 15 minutes until they're really, really nice and soft, and you can mash them really easily. And then about 15 minutes later, I'm just going to drain the sweet potatoes in the sink, just get rid of all of the water, and then it's ready to mash. I'm going to mash this up with a little bit of butter and a grated cheese, along with some salt and pepper to taste. I'm not going to add too much because again, this is for George, but I will add some salt and pepper to mine a little bit later when I'm serving. While I have the potato masher out, I'm just going to mash up the kidney beans a little bit, just like I did with the chili con carne, just because then it's just easier for George to eat. I then gave it a bit of a taste and decided that I wanted to add a little bit more flavour to it. So I decided that I wanted to add the remaining Worcestershire sauce that we had left in the cupboard from earlier, and it absolutely was so worth it. Once everything was done, I got out a pie dish and then added the kidney bean mixture into the bottom of that, and then just spread that out a little bit and added on my sweet potato mash on top, and then spread that out accordingly, not forgetting obviously the all-important grated cheese on top as well as in the mash. I absolutely love cheese. I don't know if I could ever be a vegan unless they improved the quality of vegan cheese, or lowered the price of vegan cheese actually. But yeah, this is absolutely gorgeous. I'm so happy with it. And this is my veggie shepherd's pie. I had a little taste of this section, so like the kidney bean section, and it didn't have enough flavour, so I added the rest of my Worcestershire sauce that I had left over from the rest. I couldn't quite get that last bit out, but that has made it delicious. Obviously the red wine has cooked down, so there's no more alcohol in it and everything, so all the family are going to be able to enjoy it, and it has a really gorgeous flavour. If I wanted to eat this like tonight, I would just put this in the oven for 20 minutes, so I think 180, but I'll link the recipe down below. But if I wanted to, which I think I will, I'm going to cover this with some cling film and pop it in the fridge, and then if I wanted to cook this from chilled, like from the fridge, I'll put it in for 40 minutes, and it stays in the fridge for a couple of days, up to a couple of days. But if you put it in the freezer, which you can also do, then it can stay in there for like up to a month. So I love this meal. I've had this so many times and it is just so tasty. And there we go. So those are my three probably favourite and easiest veggie batch cook meals for like all the family. So family friendly. George can have every single one of those. I can have every single one of those. We'll both enjoy them. And yeah, so I'm really happy that I've got those done for the next week. I probably will have those three meals like, so I'm only on my own actually for 4 days this week. So hopefully I can have like those three meals and then one of them again, or like something really easy like a pasta dish or something, and then Ash will be back and then he'll be able to cook, do the cooking again. But I've got all of those in the fridge or the freezer, whichever one I choose, for each of them. All of the pre-portioned ones I've put into the freezer, and then obviously that
Big shepherd's pie, I think I will pop into the fridge with some cling film over it and then just like cook it from chilled. And then it will last in the fridge again once it's cooked for like a day or so. So yeah, that should be absolutely fine. Very happy. I feel like I'm very ahead of myself, which is good and rare. But yeah, they're my favourite batch cooking recipes for like family friendly meals, not just like baby meals, so things I can eat as well, which if you are on like a time constraint or even a budget, like it is so much more cost effective to do big meals like that. Even the veggie ones, like the veggie ones are so affordable, but you can obviously swap out pretty much all of this for like meat, especially the chili con carne and the spaghetti bolognese. You can do that with proper meat instead of the substitute. But anyway, yeah, I think that is everything for this video, but I will see you very, very soon. Let me know what sorts of things you want to see coming up, and for now, I'm going to love you and leave you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.
'Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free, oh my sweet baby.